that choice is either allow us to go directly into depression, a deflationary depression, or to inject either a combination, inject a combination of stimulus and injections by the Federal Reserve of an aggregate of $5 trillion over the next 2 years. The situation's over and hopeless. And I think that they'll do that. But the upshot of that will be there'll be very high inflation, maybe even hyperinflation. We don't know as yet. It wasn't that long ago, 2.5 to 3 years ago, we had 14.5% inflation. And so if they do that, it'll happen again. But it'll keep the economy from going into the tank for 2 years and carry them through the next election. And that's what I think that they'll be forced to do. And there's all kinds of things that are going on with the Federal Reserve that people don't know about that we talk about in the forecaster. And one of them is that I figured that last year the Federal Reserve bought about $800 billion worth of U.S. Treasuries through foreign central banks. And they admitted to buying about $1.8 trillion worth of what we call toxic assets. And that figure has now been surmounted by an additional $1.2 trillion that nobody can figure out where it went. Well, we know where it went. It went to foreign central banks, and they went into the market and bought treasuries. And that's why the petition, the participation in U.S. Treasury auctions has been high from overseas, because they're just using money that's being printed up by the Fed. So that paper is being monetized immediately, which means it becomes inflationary, and that in turn offsets deflation. Real inflation right now overall is 8.25%, not the 2% or whatever it is the government talks about. And that's going to continue, and it's going to get worse. And so that's where we're headed with all this.
Mr. Chapman, with all of what this is coming toward us as American citizens, is there anything that, because you live out of the country, is there anything that American military can do to prepare themselves, and how they are going to have to fight their way back to the country?
Well, I don't think there'll be any trouble getting back to America for anybody, except those in the military who are under orders. And, who knows what form of command and situation it will have in the military. I mean, anything can happen. And, with that said, it's hard to say what form it'll take for them. But for people to get from one place to another is not difficult. It all depends on where you are, too. If you have a cabin in Tierra del Fuego, you might have a problem getting back. And for those of you who don't know, that's at the tip of Chile, and it's across from Antarctica. And it's a very famous part of the world, but most people aren't aware of it. Anyway, you shouldn't have trouble getting back at all. One of the good things about Latin America, there's a price for everything.
Oh, yeah. And guys, I asked Mr. Chapman that question because 3 of you chimed in with it, but in the second hour I'll give you another answer to that, because I have some military captains that are in charge of different ships around the globe, and they are making plans to where if it ever gets to that effect, they will bring you home. Renee in North Carolina comes in with a question: when trying to find a person to sell or build a home in exchange for gold or silver, what advantages to doing so can be pointed out to the so-called seller or builder as to how it is in his economic advantage to do a trade for gold or cash or silver. And of course, the person with the gold would avoid capital gains. But I am correct in assuming that since he traded, if he wished to sell the gold for cash, he would not owe taxes. Can you do that?
Well, first of all, I'm not a tax expert, and that's hard for me to say. And probably anything I tell you would probably be breaking the law. But I think the bottom line is, and this is my version, is that you don't want to do that. You want to rent. And in times of trouble, why would you want to own a house? I mean, right now, there's an inventory that is 8 years of inventory for sale and housing. Normal inventory is 4 months. Builders are going to build 550,000 homes this year. I mean, that's incredible. What can they be thinking of? They'll never get sold. And so you don't want to buy a house because the value is going lower. And then on top of that, it's illiquid. You can't sell it. Or you're lucky if you sell it. Don't build a home. Don't buy a home. I don't know how many times I got to tell you people that. Put your money in gold and silver, and if I'm right, 5, 6, 7 years from now, you'll still be with us because you could buy your way out of anything because you had gold and silver. Either that or you'll have enough money to buy 50 homes, or 10 homes, or 5 homes, whatever it is. It's the only place to be. So don't even think about it.
From Louisiana, Mr. Chapman, I have a large stash, in parentheses, of gold and junk silver that I've been keeping in a big safety deposit box that used to be a bank. It's not a bank anymore. It's basically a investment house. But they have the original bank of vault in the basement, and that's where I keep my gold and silver. Is that a safe place to keep it, or should I get it out of that investment house and get it into my possession, as Drew constantly attempts to me to do so?
Well, I think you should buy a gun safe, and the new ones are pretty snazzy. And because I recently purchased one, and for $2,000, you can keep it in your house. And I'll tell you a little secret, and I'm sure the government's listening, but anyway, they probably don't count because they're not the ones that go and kick the doors in. Have a cabinet made that'll slide over the top, the frame to a cabinet that looks like an armoire, where you'd open it up and hang clothes inside, and people won't even know it's there. Good idea. I did that.
Plain sight.
So nobody even knows I got a safe.
It's called hidden in plain sight, and Stan comes in and he says, "How did he know I was renting a house?"
Well, I'll certainly tell you I'm not psychic. But
I'm laughing in the background.
It's a way to go. It really has been since 2005. And especially 206 and 7. And congratulations to you all who sold your houses in those days and any other real estate you had, because you're really sitting in the catbird seat, and hopefully you bought gold and silver, and you got to be way far ahead. And so my hat's off to you for listening. But that's the way to do it. And as far as your gold and silver is concerned, put it in your home, anywhere that you think is more safe than another, and put a cover over it that looks like a piece of furniture.